Welcome to the second part of this tutorial. We're going to implement some even more uh, tasks in the class ship in order to make it more useful. So first we are going to start by implementing a new field in the class container called the country of origin, basically representing the country of origin where this container was shipped from, a constructor that takes weight, content, and country of origin to initialize these fields, a getter method to access the country of origin, and if there is a country of origin, the toString method should display it. Next, we're going to provide a method getContainersFrom in the class ship, which basically gives back all of the containers coming or originating from a certain country of origin, which is the parameter. It does a full match but ignores casing. And then finally, we will implement a method called getShippingCountries. This method will return the set of countries with associated containers on the ship. Okay, so let's get started first implementing the field country of origin in the class container. So let's go to the class container here and implement a new field, private string country of origin. Okay, so we've got a new field, and we would like to provide a second constructor that takes weight, content, and country of origin. We don't want to mess up with this constructor because this has been already used in different places, different locations in our code. So if we mess with this constructor, then this is fine in the class container, but every time you use that constructor that takes two parameters, you'll need to change that as well. So as a good practice is not to touch code which has already been used, but provide overloaded constructor or methods to take care of the extra uh, field and provide ways to access the new implementation. So what we're going to do here, we're going to provide a constructor called container, taking three parameters, double weight, string content, and string country of origin. And what it does, it will assign weight to weight, content to content, and country of origin to country of origin, right? So when we do this dot, it means we are referring to the attribute. And this one, the one highlighted in brown, it refers to the parameter. Of course, we want to take those parameters and update the attributes. Well, this code is now redundant, right? Because those two lines of code are doing essentially the same. So instead of introducing this redundancy, I'm going to call this constructor passing weight and content. So this constructor will first call the first one to adjust weight and content, and then it will adjust the country of origin. Okay. So now what will happen is that each container object will have these three attributes associated with it. We want to provide a getter method to our country of origin. So I'm going to provide getter method get country of origin, and this one will return country of origin. Now let's go ahead and create another set of main method to take a look at this new specification here. We'll go create another class, ArrayList example 6 with a main method. So I'm going to create a ship object. And then let's create a container object. And this container contains Java textbooks. That's the weight and the country of origin. Well, probably from Canada. And Let's see this is complaining about that constructor. String int string is undefined because the constructor is supposed to take weight first, which is 1, and then content, and then country of origin. So that's the first container. And let me create a second one. So this one maybe 1.5. Used books. And this one we don't know the country of origin. So this one is calling the previous constructor. Okay, so then we are adding ship.addContainer C1 and ship.addContainer C2. For the sake of this example, let's do ship.report. So if you run this code, we will get these 2 containers on the ship, and of course the total weight is right. Now, we would like these containers to present the country of origin if it's there, right? It makes sense to display country of origin here when we are reporting the containers. So where can we make that happen? Well, there are a couple of locations. Of course, you can modify the method report, but the method report depends on the method toString in the class ship. And the method toString in the class ship is operating in this object, calling on the toString method of this object. So of course we can do get country of origin here, but it makes sense actually to go to the toString method in container, because this is country of origin is in this object, and add it here. So what I'm going to do, I'm doing country of origin. So that's that. Now if you do this, you can see that the country of origin is displayed in the first container, and it's null in the second container. Why is it null? Because if you don't initialize a field, it will be initialized as null if it's an object, or 0 if it's a number, or false if it's a boolean, or empty character if it's a char. Okay, so this one is only initialized with this other constructor, not with this one. So of course we can give it like an initial value which is not null, like empty string. But even if we do this, you can still see that we've got a comma here and an empty string. And from a data perspective, it makes sense to use null. Null means it's not available, so we can keep it as null to indicate that it's not there. So what we're going to do, we're going to modify the toString method to display that container differently, whether there is a country of origin or not. So here's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to start with what we need to display anyhow, which is content plus weight. And then if country of origin is not null, is not equal to null, then we want to add the comma and the country of origin. And of course, at the end, we want to return out, which is the string result that we formatted. Now we do that and we run, and you can see that this one formats with a country of origin and this one doesn't, because it doesn't have one. All right. So that takes care of creating the new field, the constructor, and also modifying the toString method to display it. So now then we want to create a method getContainersFrom that takes a certain country of origin and also matches, tries to search for a container that contains this country of origin. So let's do that. Let's go ahead to ship. This method should be very similar to the method getContainers, right? Except that it's getContainersFrom, and it takes country of origin as a parameter. So we're searching for a keyword, and we want to match containers that contain a certain keyword. The rules of matching are different. The match should be full matching, so instead of doing contains, it has to be equals, and it's still lowercasing, so that's fine. Of course, what's important here is that we're not processing content, we're processing country of origin, right? Because we don't want to match content, we're matching country of origin. So COO makes sense. And then if COO equals keyword.toLowercase, then what we can do, we return C. Well, actually, we don't return C. We need to add C to the array list match. So I should have worked based on that method. So matches. So matches.add C. That basically will add that container to matches. And at the end, we can do the same thing. If there's at least a match, we return this array list. Otherwise, we return null. And of course, this one will return an array list of containers. Okay. So we're matching country of origin, lowercase, doing exact matching using equals instead of contains, and the keyword is still the same. We're adding potential matches here, and we're returning them. So let's go back here and create a third container. Let's take out this one, and we will get back to it shortly. So let's create a third container. Here, let's have some Java beans coming from Brazil. And maybe another container from Canada here, just to make them two. So C4, what do these Canadians have? Maple syrup, maybe. They have a lot of maple syrup. Okay, so we add these containers. And we report, so we get these containers on board of the ship. Now let's do this. Let's do system out print line ship.get containers from Canada, and I'm going to make it lowercase here to test whether this is working fine. And you can see that we've got Java textbooks and also maple syrup, the two containers coming from Canada. Of course, if I do Brazil, I should get one container. And if I do China, I should get null, right? All right. So now then, why did I take out this container here? Let's add it back and see what happens. Use books, no country of origin, and we run. And we've got a null pointer exception here. And the reason this null pointer exception happened is that this container doesn't have a country of origin. So country of origin here is null. And you're trying to call a method on a null value, you get a null pointer exception. So this whole thing should be conditioned on country of origin, on that container having a country of origin. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take out this method called toLowercase, because this is what happened here. We can't call a method on a null object. This one is fine. It will return the object whether it's null or not. And I'm going to do this in two steps. CO will be CO.toLowercase. Before going through this route, I'm going to check that COO is not null. And I can make all of this conditional on COO not being null. Or I can do COO is null, then continue to skip to the next one. Same thing. Ensure that this one is not null before you call any method on it. Okay, so go back. And this one is working fine now. Of course, we can search for containers from Canada or any countries of origin, and we will get that. Okay. Next, we are going to create a method get shipping countries. Well, get shipping countries will return the set of countries with associated containers. Right, so it will go over each container in the ship and looks up the country of origin. Of course, because we are interested in a set of countries, we shouldn't duplicate a country of origin. Like even if there are two containers from Canada, there are two countries here, Canada and Brazil. Okay, so the result should be Canada and Brazil only. So we go to the class ship and let's implement the method get um, get shipping countries. Now this method will not take any parameters. All of the data is already there in the containers array list, so it doesn't take any parameters, but it will return a hash set of string, right? So those are the countries. They are string objects, and I want a set of them, so that's a hash set of string. Of course, I need to import hash set if I want to use it, so same as importing an array list, I have to import hash set above. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my hash set of countries. And I'm going to return them at the end. Well, this will return an empty set, of course. We need to fill in the blanks here. So we need to go over each container in the containers and take a look at the country, right? So that's what we're doing here. We are going to get each container in the array list and then take the country, get country of origin, and then we are going to add that country to the hash set. And then we return countries here, right? So if you go back to this example here, let's do system out println ship.get shipping countries, and we should get 2 countries. Or not. Let's see. Well, we get Canada and Brazil, the 2 countries in question, but we also get the country null, right? So the hash set accepted null as an item, which is fine. It's been represented in the hash set as a special value of the object. It's a question for us whether we want to allow this to happen or not. It's a useful information because there are containers with no countries associated with them. So again, it depends on how this method plugs in other methods into the application. We may want to allow this to happen if this is well specified. Another choice is to exclude nulls, because if the country is not known, what's the point of adding it to shipping countries? It's like a not known country. A third option is to format it as NA. For instance, if the goal is to print out or report these shipping countries elsewhere. So let's say, for instance, we want to exclude the null. We go back to the method that we just implemented, and we just make this add method call conditional on country not being null. So we do that. If we go back and run 6, we got Canada and Brazil. And if we want to change it to NA, for instance, we will need to add an else statement to add NA. We do that and we get NA. Okay, so it's up to us what this method, how this method is specified to work and behave. All right, so this concludes this part of the tutorial.